No, Peter, they did not build that bridge to prevent non-white children from getting to the beach. How asinine. Buttigieg infrastructure bill to address racists. Highway design. Transportation Secretary Peter said on Monday that his agency would use a portion of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, thank you, white people, to address racial inequities in U.S. highway design. Please research who supplies the lion's share of taxation in the United States. And there is a broad middle class who is paying through the nose and other orifices. So 1.2 trillion. How many trillions and trillions and trillions has the white race spent, has Western kind spent over the last 50 years, over the last 100 years on other groups of mankind? Endless. How much of our genius, how much of our industry, how much of it? Just endless. And we, of course, the broad middle of Western kind, we aren't those thieves or whatever you might see at the white people at the top. We are as victimized as any other group of people by those folks who are white and anti-white, non-white and anti-white. We're as victimized as everyone else. Anti-whiteism is put into every single thing they do. Every single thing they do. They could be working. I mean, so for so long there were white people who said it'll never make it into math. I mean, how could it? It's there, and it makes its way into everything. Thank God now, so that white people can't run away and hide in these little communities, like the gamer community or the high arts community. White people would run and hide there. Good that they can't hide there anymore. The whole symphony fired because they're white. And remember, that's what matters here. It doesn't, if non-white people, and this is what we have to really correct, non-white people given preference in medicine, say like in New York we see, and of course all of this is up to checking it out with CNN to making sure it's true. Non-white people given preference in medicine, in hiring, in promotion. All of these companies, especially the biggest, every quarter they brag about how many non-white people, and that's specifically the lesson of the day, the Going Free lesson of the day we're going to be talking about, is anti-white selection and rejection, hire and fire, diversity, hire and fire. Every time the quarter comes around, these companies brag about how much more diverse they have made their workforce, how much more diverse they have made the leadership of the company. Well, what does that mean for us? I don't hate on the non-white people who are taking advantage of the endless handouts from anti-whites, or the white people who belong to other victim groups or so-called victim groups. I'm not going to hate on them because there are all of these handouts, all this preferential treatment. No, I'm pissed about the white people who have to be discriminated against in order to give the handouts. That's what pisses me off. There are only so many jobs at a company, only so many seats in a classroom. You can't add more without deleting somebody from those seats. That's how you get to these diversity goals. So you see here, you have an infrastructure bill. And you might think to yourself, it's infrastructure, right? Aren't they working on dams? Aren't they working on roads just generally? Why are they thinking about anti-whiteism? Why are they thinking, how can we victimize Western kind? Another thing you can note about this, do these things that they claim, and this is one of the things when I was on the Hill, I used to talk about all the time. The things that they claim are going to benefit non-white people as their pretext to victimize white people. When you actually look at the so-called benefit for the non-white people, it's not there. They don't actually benefit, except for the few who get a preferential treatment, and then the ones who actually work to climb the ladder. Everybody's looking at them like, are you one of the guys who got the preferential treatment, or do you actually deserve what you have? So $1.2 trillion, aren't they supposed to just go out there and like hire the best company? This is the way it used to be. Here's another thing that you lose as Western civilization has been going down the toilet. Everyone in Western civilization loses. The the mores, the morals of Western civilization, where you couldn't have just rank corruption and everything. Now everything's like no bid, and it's like everybody's cousin in government. That's whose construction company gets the job. And then, of course, you have all of these companies now who are non-white owned, and they get preferential treatment, and female owned, and they get preferential treatment. And of course, check it out for yourself to make sure it's true. Maybe I'm completely wrong. CNN will set the record straight. MSNBC. I'm sure you can go over to the Young Turks, and you can find out from them. They'll have the truth about what's actually going on in the government and how they allocate the funds. Could you imagine trying to argue the pretext? Trying to argue that, no, Peter, they did not build that bridge to prevent non-white children from getting to the beach. How asinine. The program called Reconnecting Communities, because they've been severed, because they were connected at one point, and now they're chopped up into pieces by some white guy with a giant chainsaw. It will focus on the, quote, legacy of highway construction built through communities, close quote, and remove or repurpose infrastructure barriers. So the legacy, and of course, as soon as you hear that word, you hear the mean pathogen, legacy of slavery, legacy of oppression, legacy, and these are all mean pathogens that are just excuses to victimize Western kind and Western civilization. Quote, at least 40% of the clean investments in this bill will go to benefit the communities that are overburdened and underserved. So there you hear more of the mean pathogens. And you know how sick Western civilization is when you hear that words like overburdened and underserved automatically mean non-white, as though there aren't any white people overburdened or underserved, as though the population of poor white people isn't colossal and skyrocketing, as though the group skyrocketing in suicide isn't white males. No, it's just all words, all ideas and concepts that mean downtrodden, wrongly put upon, oppressed, in shackles. Those are all just synonymous in the anti-white narrative with non-white people. And all of that then redounds to white people lowering their guard and allowing themselves to be victimized again and again. And the more white people allow themselves to be victimized, the more Western civilization is destroyed, white erased. When you're white erasing white people out of Western civilization, you're getting rid of Western civilization. And then what does that environment look like for everyone who lives here? If an underpass was constructed, it even says if an underpass was constructed such that a bus so it didn't even happen. Did it happen or not? If an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly, so it's pure fantasy. If an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black, as though there's no other route, as though there's no other way to get under the bridge. They all just pour out of the bus there, and they're like, guess we can't get beyond the bridge. Guess we just can't figure it out. This is what Peter is saying about the non-white people who want to get by that bridge. Every year, I don't think we can go to the beach. I think that bridge is the same height. My God, this is so dumb of these anti-whites. Really do. I think that bridge is the same height. Nothing can be done for it. If an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. So if it happened, then it meant that white people, and what a joke that is. No white person ever has experienced a moment where another white person was like, you're in the club. That has never happened. We don't stick together. We are notorious for the opposite because of all the anti-whiteism. And here he's claiming in fantasy that if something like that existed, then we all know it's because a bunch of white guys were getting together saying, last thing we want are them little non-white kids getting to the beach. Come on. That is ignorant. Another bullet point here from this brilliant author of this piece. I don't think we have anything to lose. I guess this is Peter Buttigieg talking. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality. And what? He just said if. I don't think we have. So he gave us speculation, a fantasy, and then he says, I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality. And I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it. So I will just create a fantasy, then call it a reality, and you all will join me in victimizing Western kind. Boy, if we aren't, we are in a bad state. And that's Buttigieg for you, ladies and gentlemen.